is the man who has taken on the daunting task of toppling Jerry Brown from the governor's mansion. He is seeking election as California governor. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the show Assemblyman Tim Donnelly. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on with you, Doug.
Appreciate you coming on. So you've run an ad that has immediately been dubbed by the Contra Costa Times as well as other papers as a Willie Horton ad versus Jerry Brown, talking about, of course, the sequestration, or not the realignment, excuse me, AB 109, which of course is the program that has been implemented to alleviate overcrowding in the state prisons by transferring inmates to county jails where they oftentimes get released early with devastating consequences.
Yeah, that's what this is. It's Jerry Brown's early release program. The realignment term is really just to confuse people. He wanted to save a couple bucks. So he pushed all the inmates down onto the local counties, and here's the result. Here's a guy that was let out before realignment, but as a result of realignment, this Jerome Davila, he's 40 years old. He's a violent sex offender. He's a burglar. I mean, the guy has committed so many crimes that they couldn't keep up with him. So they arrest him. He's violated parole, and they put him back in jail for 1 day. When he gets out, he rapes and murders his 76-year-old grandmother.
It's an ugly story. The commercial, by the way, the web commercial, we have a link to it posted on our Facebook page if you want to see it. It's Tim Donnelly's. Okay, what's your campaign website, by the way?
It's electtimdonnelly.com.
Okay, so folks can go check that out. State Assemblyman from the 33rd District. Now, with this said, what's your solution to the prison problem? Because I have some empathy for Jerry Brown, although I totally disagree with 109, because, he inherited a system where we simply didn't build enough prison space for a state that has a population larger than Canada. And we've increased sentences, which I'm fine with because I think that had a lot to do with reducing crime. But at some point, you got to have places to put people.
Well, look, what he did was a disaster. He made a bad situation a lot worse. What I would do, is real simple. First of all, we need to reopen the ability to push prisoners out of state when we're overcrowded, and we can do that. Other states will take them for half the cost. We pay somewhere around $60,000 per inmate. We could send them to places like Michigan and Arkansas for $25,000, $30,000 a year.
Yeah, I know. It costs more to keep an inmate in the state prison system than it does to send him to Stanford.
Right, and that's because of all the unions. There's a union for every single solitary prison worker. It's unbelievable. But what Texas did, Texas ought to be our model. They did a public-private partnership that they implemented over 20 years and let the private sector and the free market take over more and more of the job. They had the exact same number of inmates that we did back in 2010, and they incarcerated them for $2.7 billion, and we were spending over $10 billion. That really gives you a little insight. Another thing we could do is, why don't we deport all these illegals that are in our prisons? There's over 20,000, and instead of dumping criminals into everybody's neighborhoods, why don't we send them back to a private prison in their home country and set up a little contract with them and get them incarcerated for $10,000 or $12,000 a year?
Well, of course, I couldn't agree more on that. It's just, we end up with the cost of incarcerating people who are in the country illegally, and then oftentimes release them onto the streets of America.
Yeah, and here's the thing: prisons are an appropriate duty of government. This is the judicial branch. This is something that we have to do. This is not something we have a choice about. We have to pave the roads. We have to protect the public and do some other simple things. We ought to get out of all these other things that we shouldn't be doing. We don't need to be interfering in people's personal lives and their personal choices. We don't need to take care of everybody from cradle to grave. It's time that we get back to a country where people have personal responsibility.
All right.
When we pull government out of the areas it shouldn't be in, then we can adequately take care of the things it should do. But this is something government should do, and dumping criminals on the streets is criminal.
Tim Donnelly, candidate for governor. ElectTimDonnelly.com is his website. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.